Hey everyone, it's Odette Peak with Spiritual Alliance. I am a plant medicine integration coach and a plant medicine guide. And I want to talk to you today about how can a guided psychedelic ceremony aid in your personal growth and self-discovery. So what I want to share with you is who I am, how I got into plant medicine, what my life was like before plant medicine, why it matters to you and the benefits of plant medicine and how can it change your life, because it absolutely, if it can change my life and the lives of my clients, I'm pretty sure it can help change yours. And what's the cost of the experience over time? The beautiful thing about plant medicine and psychedelics, it has such a ripple effect. And not only does it change and affect your life greatly, it can also affect those of the people around you. And often I hear, and my clients hear, is something's different about you, but we're not quite sure what, especially when they don't know that you've just embarked on a psychedelic or a plant medicine journey. And at the end, I want to share with you a retreat that I do have coming up here, as well as an opportunity to explore further the possibility of working either in the retreat or one-to-one with me. So let's get started. So who am I? Well, my first journey in plant medicine in a guided ceremony was when I was 52 years old. So prior to plant medicine, I was a business coach. I was a speaker and a storytelling coach for many, many years. I've also owned several businesses that were just so not passion driven, more profit driven. And I have a degree in clinical and social psychology, a diploma in social services. So I have a real blend and a real mix between business and my passion, which was helping people inside of psychology or social services or social work. So it was such a flip-flop for me because I was a single parent for most of my kids' lives. And it was like, I'm so passionate about helping people, but sometimes it was like, well, I just can't make enough money in the social services. And being a Canadian, that's kind of the way it was. So then I'd start a business and then I'd go back into doing what I really loved to doing, which was helping people. And not that in a business you can't help people, but it just had a different energy for me. And so I've been a coach, business coach for 12, 14 years. And I started to get sucked into what I should be doing, how I should be showing up, what I need to be doing for social media, doing events, doing all of the things that the industry told me I needed to do, I had to do in order to become successful. And even the definition of success was not my own, it was somebody else's. And so I got into this trap of striving and driving myself basically into the ground. I was working all the time because I kept chasing the dream. I kept chasing that next success. And I never quite felt like I was successful enough. I always felt like I wasn't doing enough or being enough or having enough because it was someone else's metric and not my own. And I always remember growing up as a kid, I never really cared about money or materialistic things. And then somehow I got into that space of, I got to look good on the outside. I have to have the nice car or the nice job or the nice house or whatever, right? And it never sat well with me. It was never really in alignment with me. And I was it was like I was the round peg, trying to fit myself into a square hole. It never worked. So fast forward to 2018, I did this amazing event. It was a 3-day event. I made $250,000 from the stage. And that was like, oh my God, I made it. It's great. I made a lot of money. And there were only 18 people in the room. And by all extensive purposes, people in the coaching world, the business world was like, oh my God, Odette, you have to do it again. It's rinse and repeat and you're successful and you're amazing and you made it. And I remember finishing that event, being quite exhausted. And I knew in my heart that I didn't want to do it anymore. I knew in my heart that that was it. I can't do this again. I don't want to do this again. That was the most important thing, is that I really didn't want to do it. But I started to get pulled in that direction of, you have to do it. Why wouldn't you do it? You're crazy if you don't do it. And I thought, okay, well, they must know better than me. And I started to go back into that role of, okay, I'm going to start doing more events and start promoting my bigger 3-day event, maybe get more people, make more money, because that's what it was all about. And I just couldn't do it. I found that the events I was putting on or the sales I was trying to make, everything was tanking. It was like, this worked last year. How come it's not working now? And So then I started to get into this slump. The more something didn't work, the harder I tried. And you know what that feels like, right? So it feels like crap and it never works. So I ended up doing an event and I had a client who was at the event. She was sitting at the front of the room. And she, after the event, she said, Odette, I'm going to a retreat in Costa Rica. You should come. And I'm like, I don't have time. I'm too busy. She said, well, just take a look at your calendar. So, okay, how the universe works. I took a look at my calendar and I remember it was the first week of June, 2019. And I'm like, I just happened to have that week free. And I could have come up with a whole bunch of excuses, but I knew somewhere in my heart and soul that something was completely out of alignment and I needed to go to this retreat. Now, the retreat was ayahuasca. So I don't know, maybe I've been living under a rock or something, but I had no idea what ayahuasca was. She showed me pictures of mattresses and barf buckets and all that kind of stuff. And I Googled the hell out of it. But I'm like, I still don't understand how a tea, and I called it a tea. If you've ever had ayahuasca, it doesn't taste like tea. Um, and it was like, how bad this can be. How hard can this be? I might as well go. Nothing else is working. I could use a break, you know? And I think it was probably to my benefit that I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, because maybe I would have talked myself out of it or something. Now, the only other time that I did psychedelics was in university in the 80s. And I remember I was at a party. So I went to university in England. And so tea, everyone, you know, you drank tea all the time. And someone was passing around tea. And I'm like, I'll take some tea, sure, whatever. And I didn't realize it was a psychedelic tea. And that night, I ended up spending the entire night in the bedroom under the coats, you know, when you throw the coats in the bedroom. And I'm thinking, this is the safest place because the hallucinations and the feelings of like, what the hell's going on? Like it was too crazy for me. It was too intense. And I didn't even know it at the time that I had taken a psychedelic until I went and I did ayahuasca 30 years later. And I realized that was probably psychedelics. I don't know. I didn't connect the dots. And I just never did psychedelics or drugs in school. You know, I mean, we might have smoked some pot or whatever, but that was the extent of it. And so fast forward to 2019, I go to this retreat. I'm doing the ayahuasca experience, and it was a whole week of ayahuasca and transformation. And not gonna lie, that first night was like, wow, what was that? What was that? Like it was not what I expected. But it was at the end of the week, it was the most humbling, transformational experience of my life. And I remember feeling where all the sludge and the junk and the shoulds and the woulds and coulds and needs to, and here's my success was sitting on my soul. It was like all of that was gone. And I had this empty space, but it was a good empty space. And I knew that I didn't want to fill it with old way of thinking, old behaviors. I knew at the time that my life is going to be different. And at some point I would probably be in the plant medicine world, and then I would move to Costa Rica because that's where the retreat was. It was in Costa Rica. It was something that was on my bucket list, but I never ever ticked that box off yet. So I am, yeah, very, very deeply profound week. I ended up spending the year traveling back and forth to Costa Rica, doing a lot of plant medicine, doing plant medicines all over the world. And because I was so hungry for transformation, I was so hungry for the healing and the beauty of it. And it was such a game changer for me. And about 6 or 8 months later, I remember doing my last webinar for my business as a speaker and a storytelling coach. And it felt really good that I was now going to leave behind the thing I didn't really want to be doing anyways. I had spent 10 or 12 years doing this work. It was wonderful, but now it was about fulfilling my heart and my soul and going on a path that was really in alignment with what I wanted to do. So the pandemic came, right? So it's 2020 by then. I had a retreat that I was going to put on, but that was shut down with the pandemic. So I ended up going within and doing a lot of deeper work and really getting connected to what is it that I truly want, and what is it that I don't want? How do I want to feel every day when I wake up? Because I can't go back to the way I was. I can't go back to the way that I used to feel. And I used to feel miserable, sad, depressed, but not clinically depressed. I wasn't on medication, just completely unfulfilled. And I was always looking to external things to make me feel happy and fill those voids, when really the void was internal. And plant medicine showed me that I wasn't missing anything on the inside. It was all there for me. I just wasn't tapped into it because I wasn't looking in the right place. It's like you're looking for your keys, in the bedroom, but they're in the kitchen. You can search the bedroom for hours. You're never going to find them until you look in the right spot. And that is what happened for me with plant medicine. Was I started looking inward and really tapping into myself, my desires, my wishes, a lot of childhood healing from experiences of life. And that's when I decided that I was going to learn how to be a plant medicine integration coach. I had the coaching background, I had the counseling background, all that background. So it was great. So it was an easy step in. And then an opportunity came for me to learn how to become a psychedelic guide. And at first I was like, I'm not sure I really want to do that, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to see what, comes up of this and see where I land with it. And it was a really great way to come into this world from that perspective for me, rather than the gung-ho, I'm going to be the best psychedelic guide ever. It was just like, no, I'm still going to go inward. I'm still going to see how this can help me in my personal growth and development. So I took the course, and it was an amazing course. It was a lot of experiential, a lot of theory. I learned a lot about myself, because that's really what the most important part about doing this work is: knowing you, that self-discovery, that self-acceptance, that self-understanding before you can go out and help other people. So then with my coaching background and my ability to, build businesses, I was able to sort of hit the ground running and became quite busy being a psychedelic guide and a psychedelic integration coach. So here I was, 52 years old, embarking on this experience. And, there were some things like in my head, like, God, like I'm not like the 20-something hippie, although I feel quite like I missed that calling, but it's like, no, but I can show up as I'm 57 now, as this older, wiser, elder person who, it doesn't matter when you start. The most important thing is that you start when you're ready, but that you start, period. Because sometimes we're not ready. We need to get over those fears and those doubts and just step into it. And that's really what happened for me. So how does that resonate with you, or how does that matter for you? Is number one, it's never too late. It's never too late to start. It's never too late to have an awareness that your life is not the way that you want it to be, that there is more. Maybe you're looking for your purpose in life. Maybe you're looking for an experience that is outside of, the 3D realm, that you want to explore other levels of consciousness. Maybe you have childhood traumas or wounds that you're ready to have healed. And maybe you just don't feel good in your own skin. That was me. And I didn't really realize that. But when we don't feel good in our own skin, we don't show up authentically who we are. We don't show up to other people, whether it's in our job or families or as a parent, in our truest form. And then we have masks that we're wearing. We have different masks that we put on for different occasions in our life. And it gets tiring. It gets exhausting. So I get that. I get what it's like to know that there's something more, but not know what that is or how to access that. Now, you can do talk therapy, which a lot of people do, or you can take medications and all those things. But medications, numb and suppress and repress your traumas or your challenges. And I'm not here to say that medication isn't the right thing for you, but there are other options. And so when we're doing talk therapy, for me, talk therapy can be wonderful, but you're in your head. You stay within in just that, the thinking brain, the thinking mind. The beautiful thing about plant medicine or psychedelics is that it goes in behind the psyche. It goes in behind the thinking mind. It works with your inner healer. It works with the traumas and the challenges that are ready to be ready to come up and to leave. So in our society, especially in the Western society, when we have emotions that are anything but happiness or laughter, we suppress them or repress them, we stuff them down, or we numb them with, you know, alcohol or drugs or whatever, because we don't want to feel them, because they hurt, they're uncomfortable. We don't want to feel sad. But as a human, all of the emotions are natural and need to be felt. But in our society, it's like, and I maybe heard this as a kid, like, stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about, you know, why aren't you happy? You know, you have everything that you want in life, or someone would want in life. Why aren't you happy? Or, oh, if I had what you had, I'd be, you know, I'd be amazing. And we get trapped up in those things. And then we often, what comes up is a lot of shame and a lot of guilt around that. So what plant medicine does is it goes in and works with the shame, it works with the guilt, it works with the childhood traumas. And depending which medicine that you do embark with, it can be done in a gentle way. It can be done in a loving container. Ayahuasca can be very loving, but it can also be very, very challenging and very harsh. It's not for the faint of heart, you know. But the beautiful thing is it's like it dislodges the stuckness within you. It dislodges the trauma and then it releases it. So in our Western society, as I was saying, when you start to feel emotions of sadness or grief or whatever, we repress them. And we keep repressing them until one day something happens. We have overwhelming stress, anxiety rules our life, we have disease, we have cancer, we have all sorts of things. And that's a sign from your body saying you need to do something about this trauma and about this about the challenges that you've been experiencing. And in plant medicine world, when something is coming up, when you're in a psychedelic experience, when something is coming up, the best thing we can do is just release it. It's there for releasing. And so the plant medicine and the psychedelics that you work with inside of a guided ceremony, I just want to preface that. That's what's really super important here, as opposed to a recreational setting, is that you're then guided and supported and able to release the trauma, the challenge, the grief, the sadness in such a loving container in an easier way, rather than you're just going to continue to suppress. And so in our societies, we just resist so much. And when you're in plant medicine, it makes it a little bit more challenging to resist. And depending, like I said, which medicine you are using, it's about allowing you to be able to process and take that grief, take that sadness, and just let it go. And then that's the most beautiful thing, that when you can let go of something, it is no longer part of your world. It's no longer in your body. It's no longer trapped in trauma inside of you. And that is what I've experienced, and that's what my clients experience when we do psychedelics. And so you can do a lifetime of talk therapy. I've heard this before, that, you know, the people, myself included, but most of my clients are like, okay, first of all, that experience was beautiful. It's not what I expected. And I've been in therapy for 20 years, and I got more out of today in this ceremony than I have in the 20 years of therapy. And so I'm not here to debunk talk therapy, but I'm just here to share with you that there are alternative ways that the talk therapy keeps you sort of right here, whereas the plant medicine goes in behind the psyche and does the healing from within. It goes to the core. So a lot of people as well, I noticed that they procrastinate, and like, one day it'll get better, one day it'll get better. When I have XYZ, then I'll be able to do this work. Or when I have more money, when I have, you know, a better job, then everything will change for me. And I used to think like that as well. That's what drove me for decades in my businesses. It was like, okay, but when I make 100,000, when I make 500,000, when I make 1,000,000, and just, when does it end? Right? When does that cycle end? And if you can just stop that dialogue and go, what do I need right now? And start making decisions about your life, not from where you are, but from where you want to be. That is probably one of the most profound things that I ever learned was make decisions about, your life or your job or your kids or whatever it is, um, about where you want it to be, not from where you are right now, because where you are right now is potentially stuck in doubt, in fear, in procrastination. And that's not a really great place to make solid decisions about your life. So how does plant medicine, change your life in the long and short of it all? Number one is, we talk about or people when we're doing ceremonies talk about intention a lot. Like, what's your intention for a ceremony? And it's very, very important to have some type of mindset intention. Yet at the same time, sometimes it's nice to say, just show me what I need to know, and I'm just going to get out of the way, and I'm just going to let you do do whatever you need to do. That is in full surrender, non-resistance. And I know that there's a lot of controlling people who are probably listening to this. I'm a super control freak, and not as much as I used to. That used to be. That what I received and what my clients receive is more of what we want in our life, more of how we want to feel, and less of what we don't want. So a lot of people say, I just want to feel happiness or more joy or more excitement. I just want to bring in abundance, whether it's, financial or love or any type of abundance, is I want more of that. I want to live in a place of love and not fear. I want to live in a place of happiness and acceptance and joy. And I don't want to live in that procrastination model world of, when I have this, or when I have XYZ, then I'll be able to be this better person. I'll be this more amazing person. And it's really about the here and now. And the beautiful thing is, for myself and most of my clients, when they, after the ceremony and when they're back in their real world and they start living life, people are like, something is different. We don't know what it is. Did you get your hair? Is your hair different? Did you lose weight? Those kinds of things, because they can't quite put their finger on it. And that's the beauty of this work is that it's noticeable and this is noticeable if you embrace the experience and you do the integration work. I really want to preface that. It's not like a one-hit wonder, doing the integration work is like 75% of the work is about being able to take the messaging and the learning from the medicine and apply it to your day-to-day life. The other thing that I noticed for me is that my kids greatly benefited from it as well. And now they're in their 20s. They're doing their own healing work. They're doing their own, self-exploration, discovery. And so I have two daughters. Not that makes a difference whether there's daughters or sons, but there's something about women showing up in the world in the truest essence of who they are, because not a lot of women don't, right? We sit in the background, or we suppress what we want because we want everyone else to come first. So it's important that you're doing your own work so that your kids or your family or your friends can get as borrowed benefits, right, from that. And so my kids say to me, I'm glad you've done your work. I'm glad you continue to do your work because it's helping them. And so so it's helping them because I'm a role model, and you can be role models in many different ways, as we all know, right? Now, the other beautiful thing about plant medicine and working with psychedelics is that it also has some ancestral healing. So it's like you're healing your ancestral lineage, but you're also healing your family forward. So it's not just about you. Whereas talk therapy, as an example, is just about you, more or less, right? But when you're doing the plant medicine work, it goes back generations and it goes forward generations, because it works with your inner healer. It works ancestrally. It works in your lineage. It's not just in the here and now. It's not only the explainable, I guess, is the only way I can say that it works very much in the unexplainable. So the cost of the experience over time is that it has a compounded effect. Now, you have assuming you have a ceremony that is rewarding and helpful and healing for you. And I'm not saying that it has to be rainbows and butterflies. It can be challenging for sure, because when you're dealing with your traumas or your experiences, it can have an element of challenge. But that doesn't make it a bad experience. So the beautiful thing about this medicine is that it just keeps working. If you're staying in the integration, you're staying in the learning, you're staying in the messaging of the medicine, that it becomes like integration doesn't stop after, 3 sessions or whatever it is. It's a compounded effect. 6 months later, I've experienced, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. And that's what I heard in the medicine. Oh my God, I completely forgot about that. Or I have my clients say, wow, you know what just happened to me? As an example, I had one client who was really wanting a soulmate, really wanting to be in a relationship. And 6 months later, she found her soulmate, her relationship, the person that she wanted to wants to spend the rest of her life with. Because what she did was she healed those wounds that were blocking that relationship. So integration is hands down the most important part of doing ceremony. Now, I'm not going to lie, like when I first started doing medicine, I became a little bit of a medicine junkie. And that sounds really horrible, but you know what I mean? Like I was just like addicted to the high of doing the work, or of doing the ceremonies. And I realized that I still needed to do the integration. So the integration is crucial, because that is what will make a big difference in your life. So what I do now is now I live in Costa Rica and I do this work. I do retreats, I work privately with people. And so I want to share a little bit about that with you. So I'm just going to open up the chat here because I have a couple of links. Oh, I thought I had a couple of links. So I'll put them in here right now. Number one is I have a retreat coming up, and it's May 26th to June 1st. And here it is. And on this retreat, I created a retreat specifically for what I wanted inside of a retreat. And a retreat is awesome because now you're with a group of people who are like-minded, all eager and ready for transformation. We're all there to support each other. And what I've decided in this retreat is I wanted to create multiple levels of ceremonies. And so there's 4 ceremonies. The first ceremony is a psilocybin and a heart-opening medicine ceremony. We also have a sweat lodge and a temescal, which is such a beautiful experience because it's very spiritual and very ancestral. So Alejandro, who is running the sweat lodge, is a shaman from Costa Rica and has been doing this for a number of years. And the sweat lodge is a very sacred experience. It's a very interesting experience. And I've had a lot of beautiful insights in a sweat lodge and a lot of an amazing healing inside of a sweat lodge, because now we're working with the deeper spiritual ancestral roots of our heritage. And what it does is it helps heal the ancestral and the lineage, which ultimately helps you in the here and now and helps your family, your friends moving forward. Just to back up, the psilocybin ceremony is also very beautiful because mushrooms are very, it's natural. It goes really nicely with a sweat lodge. They're done on separate days, but it's very insightful, very message driven, can be very beautiful, tells you what you need, not always what you want. It's like it's that friend that gives you that honest advice about something rather than the friend that tells you what you want to hear and gets caught up in your drama. So the other element is a heart-opening medicine. And when it works in synergy with psilocybin, your heart is open, the amygdala is turned off, the fear response is not there. So it gives the opportunity for the synergy between the heart-opening medicine and the psilocybin to work together by lowering the fear, lowering the resistance, so that the psilocybin can then go in and work with your inner healer at a deeper level and help heal the traumas and the challenges or the wounds, whatever that is, but inside a really safe and loving container. The other two ceremonies are a cacao ceremony, which is very beautiful. It's chocolate that's ceremonial grade cacao chocolate, has beautiful healing properties, but it's also very heart opening and very beautiful inside of it itself. So we have this beautiful ceremony coming up with the soul fire ceremonies, and they're also doing the sound healing. So sound healing is using musical instruments to get inside of the vibrational body. And so those are after the sweat lodge and after the psilocybin ceremony to basically round out, to weave sort of a tapestry of all of that healing, all of that messaging, all of the learnings that you're getting. And it really works by sort of closing up that container, but in a loving container. It's like putting a bow around all of your healing. So the retreat is here in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, at the Peace Retreat. And it's a really beautiful environment. It's in a jungle setting. We have a lot of other activities like fire pit night, where we're doing opening and closing circle and ceremony. We have a jungle walk to the beach. We're doing this beautiful altar meditation on the beach. The food is fantastic. The accommodations are really great. There's going to be a ton of free time because, like I said, integration is crucial. And so we want you to have time to integrate. So in order to come to the retreat, there is a process. The first step is filling out an application. I get the application, I review it, and then you and I will jump on a video call to make sure that the retreat is right for you, that it's safe for you, that it's safe for the other attendees, and obviously an opportunity to answer any of your questions and to make sure that it's the right time for you now. And the most important thing around curating a group retreat, in my opinion, is around the safety. It's around the safety of each participant, how it's going to blend together as a group of like-minded people who are ready for transformation. So it is going to be a small, intimate gathering. So more information on the link, which is spiritualalliance.ca /retreat. And it's called the Soul Journey Retreat. It's May 26th to June 1st. So I also want to give you an opportunity to learn more about working with me privately. And there's a couple of different ways. So I'm just going to put up that link here. And this is if you can't make the retreat or the retreat's not the right time for you. And so here's the link to my website. And it gives you a full breadth of who I am, how I got started, my story, what I offer. And so how I actually started was working privately with people. So 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. So with inside of a couple, it doesn't have to be an intimate couple partnership, but it could be with you and a friend. And so the private is different. It's there's the preparation is the same as what's happening for the retreat, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then we have the ceremony, which is one day, and it'll be a plant medicine ceremony, and then there'll be integration afterwards. So the packaging is a little bit different. I mean, both are beautiful, both are amazing, both are there for your transformation. They're just done in a different environment and a different setting. So if you are ready to kind of go full out and you want to be able to take a week off, which is such a beautiful experience to get away from your home environment or your life environment, step outside and spend a week just focused on you, which a lot of people have a hard time doing, like I did. But I went anyways, and it totally changed my life. So it can totally change yours. So when I'm working privately with people, the preparation, like I said, is the same as the retreat. So there's a family history intake questionnaire that I have people fill out. Now, this questionnaire in and of itself is very therapeutic. What we're doing is we're going through your life basically like year by year to really pull out what are the childhood experiences that you've had? What are the wounds or the traumas or the challenges? Because they're not always, capital T trauma. Sometimes they're just little t trauma. And what that means is it could just be something, the way someone looked at you or the way someone said something to you that had you say in that moment, That's not safe to be that way, to think that way, to say that, to do that, whatever. And we have many of those moments in our life. And so then we create a story based on those moments. And so in the family history intake questionnaire, we take a look at your parents' life, your siblings, your grandparents. We basically take a look at all of it. And every time someone fills one of these integration or these intakes out, they say, so glad I did this, because in and of itself, it was very therapeutic. And so that's what we start both the retreat and the private with. I also have a whole bunch of resources that I tailor make for people, so that you can start doing the work before the retreat or before the private ceremony. And that's a really another very important piece, is that we want to make sure you're doing mindfulness work or breath work or meditation or yoga or whatever it is that you prefer. I also have a list of resources, reading books, courses, things that can be that you can take a look at, that you can do. And because the moment you say yes to the retreat or working privately or whatever, the moment you say yes to plant medicine, everything will start to shift for you. That's when the medicine starts doing its work, not the day you show up at the retreat or the day that you show up in the private ceremony. So those resources are super valuable. You're also given a treatment guide, like a guide on how to prepare for the ceremony and prepare for the retreat, which includes diet, mindfulness practices, all sorts of things. And then working privately, it's the day. We spend the day together, kind of like a 10 to 6, and we do what we need to do. And then integration starts right after the ceremony. The moment you start to come out of the medicine, the integration conversations start, and then we do a little bit of integration afterwards. So there's a couple of options to work with me. One final option, what I really do like to stress, is that sometimes people need more one-to-one work before a retreat or before we do a ceremony. And sometimes that's a great place for someone to start. And we do a lot of inner child work. So what I work a lot with individuals is the inner child, what happened in childhood, getting you reacquainted with that part of you that really needs that healing. And so sometimes people need to work with me privately on top of the retreat, or on top of the private work, private ceremony, in order to get ready. So that's another option. And sometimes if people just aren't ready for medicine work, but they're ready to start doing the work. So what I encourage you to do is you just go on my website, check them out. There's a lot of reading there. Reach out to me. We'll have a conversation. We'll see what is the best place to start. And then we go from there. So everything really does start with that application. Everything starts with that video chat consult to see, if we're fit, because it is a relationship, and to make sure that you're ready and I'm able to help you. So I just want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate you listening to me, and I hope there was a lot of valuable information. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. So for now, I just want to say thank you so much. Adios. Ciao. Signing off, Odette Laurie from Spiritual Alliance. Ciao.